Hello class. This is going to be a very brief recording on Oracle Chapter 5. Just go ahead and get your slides in front of you before you listen to this recording. Okay, this chapter is on query development privileges and derived structures. Basically in this chapter what we'll be going over is just different techniques for you to develop queries. Basically, as your queries get larger and larger, you're going to have to find ways of handling sometimes maybe chunks of queries and then putting them together rather than handling everything all at once. And this is the whole idea of this chapter. Okay, so the first part of the chapter, though, there is a discussion of parentheses and how it is good to parenthesize things, and obviously if you put things in parentheses you're grouping them, and obviously that group will be taken care of first, or things in parentheses will be taken care of as groups. Okay, the main derived structures that we'll be looking at in this chapter are views, temporary tables, inline views, and snapshots. I'm on slide 5, and the first derived structure we want to talk about is views. What is a view? Well, a view actually, once it's created, it's just like a table, okay? It behaves just like a table. The data in a view is always current. The advantage of a view is that you don't have to have the whole table. So if you're, for example, you're at work and you've got 75 columns in a particular table and you only need to work with 5 columns, you can create a view that just has the 5 columns and work with those 5 columns. But as you work with the views, the data is always current, or rather as you work with the views and you're changing the data and the data changes in the views, so as the table is updated or deleted or whatever you're doing to the table, the original table also changes accordingly. So that's what I mean by a view is always current. So if you do something through a view, you still change the original table. So whether you do something through a view or you do it through the actual table, it doesn't really matter. The view is always current. Another advantage of using a view is that when you create a view, you do not use any additional storage space. The reason being the view is stored as a query. So you're only storing the 5 lines or 6 lines or however big your query is. You don't store the actual table that may have 10,000 records. Every time the view is run, the table is recreated for you to work with. Okay, so it's really a very interesting concept, and so because you don't really have any additional storage space being needed for the view, you really can even go ahead and create 100 views for any particular table. It doesn't matter because you're really using any storage space. Okay, so that's the idea on the view. Then we've got a concept called temporary table. The temporary table, though, is a snapshot in time. So if I created a temporary table of a certain table today, and I ran the table tomorrow, I'm going to be using today's data. So your temporary table is not always current. Your temporary table does not work with the real tables in real time. You're taking a snapshot of the table in the temporary table. Also, your temporary table takes up storage space because you're storing the data as a table, not as a query. So, so there are reasons. But there may be reasons where you do need a snapshot in time to work with, and there may be other times where you always want to stay current. So you create a view, and if you need a snapshot to work with, you create a temporary table. So as long as you know what the idea is behind each of these derived structures, that's the main thing. When you go out to work, your boss is not going to tell you, create a temporary table or create a view. It's going to be up to you to see what the need is and accordingly create a view or a temporary table and work accordingly. So in class here, your whole idea is to learn the different concepts and make sure you have those ideas at your fingertips. And so when you need to use something, you can go ahead and use it. Okay, an inline view is kind of created on the fly. It cannot be saved. It only exists during the time of execution. So if you've got a very big query, say for example, and you need to create part A before you can do part B, and you need to create part B before you can do part C, you can go ahead and create an inline view, but it's only valid for that query. And generally inline views are a little harder, but as you become an experienced SQL programmer, that's when you're going to start using inline views. We've given a few examples, but I don't really expect that you use it that often at this point, because especially in this class, I mean, like I said, although you're going to do a few in your assignments for Oracle Chapter 5, but after that, it's really up to you. I'm not going to force you to use either one of the structures, but it's been my experience that not too many people use the inline views right away, because it does take time to catch on. Versus a lot of people use the regular views because those concepts are really easy. Okay. Okay, snapshot is just what it is. It's, you know, it's a snapshot of materialized view in Oracle, and again, we've gone through creating a few snapshots in the chapter, so you know, I'll let you look over those. But the main concept I want you to get out of this chapter is the use of the views and the use of the temporary tables, and as long as you've gotten these two in your mind. So basically, when would you use a view? Say, for example, I've given you a very long query, and you know, it really would be beneficial for you to find out part A before you find out part B, before you find out part C. What you could do is create a view, put that in part A, create another view for part B, create another view for part C, and then, you know, bring it all together in another query, just say query D. So that's kind of when you want to use a view, is when, one of the reasons where you could use a view is, you know, if you're trying to, if you've got a very big query that you're trying to resolve, or like I said, you know, you need to have a, you know, literally a view, you know, like 5 columns or 6 columns off the 75 column table or something like that. Okay, with this I'm going to end this lecture. It's a rather short lecture, but you know, this chapter is not that difficult. It's just a matter of you learning and knowing the concepts and making sure you have everything at your fingertips. And obviously practice makes perfect. So with this lecture, I'm going to end this right here. Bye.